Hi everybody. So yeah, I'm Chris. I am General Manager of Project Catalyst. I'm sure there's quite a few of you that may have come across Catalyst already, but maybe before we get into the depths of the talk, I just wanted to mention this is, by surprise, this is my 9th visit to Japan, most of which has been for pleasure rather than business. And some of my Japanese friends would say that I am otaku for Japan. I am crazy about it. And if that joke wasn't very funny, then gomenasai. Okay, so let me tell you a little about Catalyst and what we do. So if you don't know, Catalyst is Cardano's innovation engine. We take the traditional grants funding model and we turn it on its head, whereby in the traditional grants world, often proposals for R&D funding or research and innovation, the decisions are often made as to who gets the funding by just a very small handful of people. With Project Catalyst, we invite you, the Cardano community, to submit your proposals that are reviewed by the community and then ultimately voted by the entire community. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the impact that we've had over the last 4 years and maybe offer some ideas as to what the imminent future holds. So let's make sure that this is working. So can you believe it? We've been running for nearly 4 years now. In fact, in September, this is our 4th year. We are now, I mean, this report, the Catalyst Horizons report, was published just a few weeks ago in coinciding with the Rare Evo convention in Las Vegas. And we had to have a cutoff as to when the data could be included within the report. So it says here that we've got 1,639 projects funded. Actually, we're at 1,891 projects funded today. 223 million ADA has been allocated over those 4 years to those 1,891 projects. And if you were to take into account the amount of ADA against the dollar value price, for example, we are now legitimately a $100 million innovation fund. In that you guys, the Cardano community, have voted to decide which proposals should receive that funding. So we are all $100 million innovation fund managers. What I think's just tremendous about this effort is that you can see just from the image on the screens that we are a totally distributed network of researchers, innovators, creatives, and builders. And we're only really just getting started. What do they say? An overnight success is 10 years in the making. So we're not even halfway there yet. Imagine where we'll be by 10 years' time. So of the 1,639 projects on this slide, you can see that we've got many, many active projects still, and many, many projects that have already been completed. So I think this is also testament to not just people's ambitions and motivations to do a really good job, but to some of the structures that we've put in place. And for those of you that are not familiar with Catalyst, it's not that the community votes on the projects and then the project teams get all the funding. No, they get funding released in stages. And at each stage, when they've completed their milestones, the funded projects come back and they demonstrate proof of achievement. And those proof of achievements are verified by you in the community. So not only do you create the ideas and review the ideas and then vote on the ideas, but you also help to keep all those funded projects and entrepreneurs honest, making sure they're delivering on their promises. So what have we got? I want to be really quick. We've got a really fundamentally distributed landscape of global projects, and we funded a lot of great projects across a whole lot of different areas. Now, you'd be forgiven to think that we were just focused on development tooling, but you've got to think about this. 4 years ago, and for the first few funds, there was no developer ecosystem really in Cardano. So you guys not only have voted, but you've prioritized the build out of all of this great capability that is now making it much, much easier to develop on Cardano easier than ever before, and arguably in getting to the point of being easier than to build on many other blockchains. So I would encourage you to dive into any of these segments and learn a bit more about the projects. But I'm really, really proud to be able to publish for the very first time the Catalyst Japan Spotlight. Japan is one of the most important sectors and regions for Catalyst funding innovation. There's been over 17 million ADA allocated to projects, and 110 projects have been funded today. Most of those projects to date have been completed, and I'm just going to spotlight just a few. So first of all, if we look back into Fund 2, I think it's really interesting to see that infrastructure and research was at the forefront with the Ouroboros over recursive internet um, architecture network. And this is, since the very first fund that there was funding available, Japan has been at the forefront of the decisions that the community has made. As we move forward into maybe more recent funds, over the last, say, year and a half, we've seen a whole number of really interesting projects, such as in Fund 9, we can see that there have been food traceability solutions, as well as also projects that look at how do you support the ongoing education and reinvestment into Japanese traditional crafts? How do we educate the next generation of master craftsmen and also create new business models for artists and creators? If we then look to, say, fund more Fund 9 projects, we see that there's some really interesting projects that are taking on board self-sovereign identity or decentralized identity solutions that look at things like verifiable work history. And we've even got a number of you project teams in the room today. So that one that I just mentioned was proposed by Socius and Sarah Yun. And I would imagine there are probably others here in the room today that are also been funded. Now, coming quickly to Fund 10, what I'm really interested to see is that there is other infrastructure projects that are developing. So things like Winter Protocol, which is looking about how to create the pipelines and the rails for real-world assets, tokenization, and traceability. We've also seen the Cardano for the Masses book translated for the Japanese audience. And I'm really looking forward to visiting the Web3 Blockchain Center in Tokushima tomorrow in the Shikoku region. I cannot wait. We look at Fund 11. So if we come to Fund 12, the most recent fund, and I think this is, to speak of Shikoku one more time, probably one of my most favorite projects I've seen funded by you, the community, to date. And I would argue this is a really, really important advancement in the adoption of blockchain technology. The social use cases of Cardano DAOs in the Shikoku region will see a collaboration between co-creation DAO, NTT West, one of your largest telecoms companies, one of the largest telecoms companies on the planet, collaborating to bring decentralized decision making and distributed decision making into city-wide use cases. This is one of the holy grails of blockchain, is it not? So I'm really, really proud of everything that everyone's completed. Just a couple of other thoughts. We can see that the votes and the voting participation over the last 4 years has an uptrend. We can see that nearly 3 million votes have been cast around all these projects proposed. And the amount of ADA that's actually represented and participating in these funding rounds amounts to nearly 8% of total circulating supply, or more than 5% of total supply. Now, if you look into more, say, traditional voting schemes or voting practices, perhaps like the general election that's just taken place in my country, there's not even 30% of the total population that participate. So the fact that we've got 8% of our total circulating supply participating, I think is really tremendous. So what can we say about the imminent future? Well, I'd like to announce to you today that in about 2 weeks' time, we will be launching Fund 13. Fund 13 will be the last fund of 2024 with another 50 million ADA available. And I think the worthwhile announcement to make today is that Of that 50 million ADA, you may remember in Fund 12 with 50 million ADA available, 8 million of that was earmarked for the new ambitious Cardano partners and real world integrations category. Well, I'm going to announce today that in Fund 13, the budget for that category alone will be 20 million ADA. I believe if we want to see real mainstream adoption, given that we funded 6 of these projects with some of the biggest, brightest leaders last time round, and we would have funded 2,000 projects or more by the end of Fund 13, wouldn't it be amazing if just 1% of those projects were with the biggest and brightest opportunities that the Cardano community can bring to the table? I think that's a worthwhile pursuit. I want to thank you very much for your time. Looking forward to seeing all of you and talking to you about your projects later on. Thank you.